So now that all the Boolean transitions are blended, we can start adding in the primitives to prep for the retopo. Alt-click at the end of the model with the gizmo to set the orientation. Mask the entire model and click on the gear to bring in a cylinder 3D. Set the symmetry to Z and radial symmetry to 4. Also, have local symmetry turned on. Rotate and scale the cylinder into place. What I am looking for is to make sure the cylinders match the depth and is slightly bigger than the mask model. Invert the mask and split unmasked points. Turn on Transparent and Ghost located in the Transform palette. Then delete the caps of the cylinders. Turn off Ghost, and then go to the Project subpalette located in the Tool palette. Turn off Color and click on Project All. I like to go back and forth between Transparent being on and off to get an idea of how well it's projecting to the model. If the projection is missing at the ends, you can move them back a tad and it will catch the model on the next projection. So any cylinder shape that is sticking out, I'm going to repeat the same process. I want to have all the cylinder ends to have the same poly count so I can simply extrude in. Invert the mask and split unmasked points. Alt-click on the back of the cylinder to set the pivot and then scale it in. Click Solo so we can delete the internal polys. Click on Project All, then merge the subtool down. For each model, the prep for manual retopology will be different. Sometimes I will have primitives set up first, other times I will start with a plane and start extruding from there. Also, since I'm using Project All a lot, I will assign a temporary hotkey to it. Anytime I use a feature for a long stretch, but not in every project, I will temporarily assign a hotkey of C to it. It's a close key I can click on easily on the keyboard. And it's ZBrush's standard hotkey of color picking, which I don't use much for hard surface. So one thing I like to do before I start edge extruding is turn off the polyframe color. You can do that by clicking Fill on the top right side of the polyframe button. From the Z-Modeler brush, we want to select Extrude from the edge action and Polyloop for the target. Click and pull out to extrude, and going up and down will adjust the taper. The amazing thing about Edge Extrude in ZBrush is it allows you to retopo in radial symmetry, which really speeds up the process. When extruding over the hole, I want to pull it halfway. That way I can have the option to either split the vertex or inset the 4 polys. For this model, I will delete the 4 polys and extrude inwards. While splitting the point would have been easier and faster to do, whenever new features I know I'll be using a lot come around, I will try to use them more often, even if it's a longer way of doing it, just to get the feel for it and become more familiar with how it responds in different scenarios. While extruding in, I'm looking to get the 4 points as near to the hole as possible. Then I will run a projectile. I also turned on transparent without ghost. After extruding the edge, I moved the remaining points closer to the hole. You can either use the Z-Modeler brush or the Move brush for this. And if you are doing this part of the retopo, it is much easier and faster to split the points and delete the polygroups. But like I was saying, I always like to take any opportunities to experiment with new techniques and tools. However, even taking the longer approach with moving the points after extrusion, it was still way faster than Z-Sphere retopology. Taking a quick look around to see if there's any errors, and then we can see how to connect the topology together. Let's delete the middle edge loops and start adjusting the points. There are 2 ways I like to move points. The first one is with a regular move brush with a small draw size. The second is with the Z-Modeler brush. The draw size is also important to take into consideration when moving points with the Z-Modeler brush. You want the size small enough so you don't come in contact with other points, unless you want to move multiple points at once. With this method, during retopology you will have to use the projectile button located in the subtool palette. What is cool now is you can move the points and they will snap to the underlining surface. All you have to do is click on the Snap to Surface in the modifier section of the Z-Modeler brush. And it is still working in radial symmetry, which is a great time saver. This is the preferred way I like to move points when retopology because it is one less operation you need to do. To bridge the edges together, you can select Extrude for the edge action, Edge/Edge Loop for the target, and Don't Force Symmetry for the modifiers. Simply move an edge and it will automatically snap to the nearest edge when it comes close to it. You can also extrude a poly loop. Then move the points with a small brush size, and when it comes close enough to the points, it will automatically weld. So for the next few minutes, I will go ahead and retopple the rest of this part off camera. No new techniques will be used, so I don't want to bore you guys with too much repetition. So here's the retoppled model. I did end up breaking symmetry when I got closer to the middle. Still have some more cleanup to do, but for now, let's give it some thickness. I'm going to choose Extrude for the polygon action and all polys for the target. Extruding down will reverse the normals, so we will have to go to the display properties and click on Flip. Press D to turn on dynamic to get a sense of what it's looking like. For these middle edge loops, I want to slide them down to help create more of an angle change. Let's go ahead and turn on radial symmetry. Bevel the edge loop and then crease the poly group. I'll go over it for a few minutes, making sure I'm not missing any small errors. To wrap it up, let's give it a bit more thickness. Even though the interior polygroup is close to the same color, they are in fact two different polygroup colors. Ctrl-Shift-click the interior and press Ctrl-W to give it a new polygroup color. Now we can go to Extrude, Polygroup All, and while holding down Shift, you can adjust the thickness.